Hope you're all hearing me. Yes, can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So our next discussion is on atmospheric pollution. So far we have been discussing about water pollution, and now we are changing on to atmospheric pollution. As you know, we have seen the different types of pollution. In general, we have seen at the beginning classes. Then we have been about specific disasters like floods, coastal erosion, cyclones, etc. And then we have come over to water pollution, that is another disaster. Now we are coming to atmospheric pollution. Atmospheric pollution has got something more than air pollution. Atmosphere consists of air as well as above the air, the vacuum is there. Because the air will be very, very rarefied when we go up and up. Without additional supply of oxygen, you will not be able to breathe when you go higher in the air. I don't know whether I have told you the case when you go to the air, to the atmosphere without a spacesuit. Without a spacesuit, if you go up in the air, your body will bulge out like a frog because the air pressure is less, means our body is designed to carry the air pressure at the earth's surface. The air pressure at the earth's surface is 1 atmosphere. That is a value for the air pressure at the earth's atmosphere. This 1 atmosphere is roughly 9.81 kilogram per centimeter square, or it is roughly 100 Newton per millimeter square. That is it roughly. 9 point, not 100 actually. Kilogram per centimeter square is to be divided by 10. So 1 Newton per millimeter square approximately, not 10. 1 Newton per millimeter square, that is around 1000 kilonewton per meter square. Okay. So let us take any one unit. I think we'll take the standard unit, kilogram per centimeter square. That is the old unit. It is the MKS unit still. So 1 kilogram, 9.81, which we always approximate up to 10. So the pressure on our body, if you take 1 square centimeter area of your body is subjected to an atmospheric pressure of around 10 kilogram. Do you feel it? It's very difficult to feel. Every centimeter square, you know how much is a centimeter? Your finger, your small finger will be more than 1 centimeter thickness, width. So centimeter is only that much. So if you take 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter area of your body at the earth's surface, it is subjected to almost 10 kilogram per centimeter square force. And this force is resisted by our body pressure. Our body has got a blood pressure, which I told, it may be systolic or diastolic, which may go up to 120 in systolic and 80 in diastolic. And that pressure is actually not in kilogram per centimeter square. It is in some other unit. It's in barometer units, that 120 and 80. That pressure is counteracting the atmospheric pressure. So when you go up and up, when the pressure decreases considerably, your body starts swelling and swelling and swelling. And if you reach maybe around 3-4 kilometers up in the atmosphere, your body may become like a football with diameter roughly more than your height. Just imagine, your body may become like that. And if you still further go, it will bulge out and burst out. So atmosphere is having air content sufficient enough to stay only on the surface of the earth. I remember when I think 4 years back on the World Habitat Day, Doordarshan has arranged an interview with me, and the public also were permitted to ask certain questions. So one person asked in that TV show this question to me. The question was, suppose we are going on tall buildings, higher and higher and higher. The ambient atmosphere is changing. And so what will happen to the human beings? Very genuine question. Take, for example, you are going to the Burj Khalifa Tower, which is more than 800 meters tall, roughly 1 kilometer tall. When you go on top of the building and you are permanently residing there, maybe in Burj Khalifa Tower also you have got flats for sale. Between 50 stories and 100 stories, you can buy a flat. Okay, if you buy that flat, if you stay there for a long period, what will happen? Of course, your behavior will change. I told the reason also, answer to that question. The reason is, see, even you must be knowing, even mosquito will not fly more than 3-story height. More than even 10 meters, mosquitoes will not fly up. Why? The mosquitoes have got an environment here where the air pressure is sufficient for it to fly and breathe, and that will not be more than 3 stories or more than 10 meters. So, in the top stories of tall buildings, you will not find mosquito, but very rarely mosquitoes may enter there because if some mosquito is caught up in the lift and the lift is opening at top and it is flying out, it may go there. But by nature, but by its basic nature, mosquitoes will not fly more than 10 meters. That means up to around, if we take that as an indication, up to around that 10 meters, we can say it is a biotic environment. Biotic environment means the living organisms would like to stay. Okay. Mosquito is also a living organism. Human beings are also living organisms. So if you go on beyond that, if you go 20 meters, 30 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters like that, the biotic nature of the environment is decreasing, and the abiotic environment means it is not living environment. The biotic environment is decreasing and the abiotic environment will increase. And if you are permanently staying in such a tall building, say there are some case studies available on the internet of behavioral changes to people who have been living in higher stories in tall buildings. Gradually, their behavior will change because their oxygen intake in the body will be less, their hemoglobin activity in the body will be less, their digestive activities in the body will be less, and it will all lead to their improper working of the brain. When the brain is improperly working, the body functions will reduce, and ultimately it can lead to behavioral changes, depression, mostly depression. You know, depression is a major disease in the world, and it is seen that around 20% of the people in the world do suffer from depression. Depression is caused by many reasons. Some diseases cause depression, some desperation causes depression, some failures cause depression. There are many reasons, psychological reasons, physical reasons, etc. etc. The change in the brain of some chemicals can cause depression. Whatever is the reason, it is seen that when you go taller and taller in buildings, so if you are offered a 100th story flat in Burj Khalifa Tower, be careful, 100 story may be above 500 meters, definitely. So if you adopt such a floor, there is every chance that in the long run, because there you are depending on air conditioning every time, but once in a while you have to open for fresh air also. So the environment there is slightly different. And that is why most of the plants do not grow tall. And those plants which grow taller, they don't need that much oxygen content. That is the point. So any plant which is growing taller will not have the effect of eutrophication there because you know that in that area the oxygen content will be less. Even if the oxygen content is less in certain areas, the nitrogen hydrogen content may grow. That is why I told red algae, green algae, blue algae can grow there. That's a different thing. So now let us come to the discussion on the air pollution, atmospheric pollution. We are going to discuss about the earth atmosphere, about the weather conditions. Weather and climate have got slightly difference. I will discuss that. And what are the atmospheric conditions? What is indoor pollution and what is outdoor pollution? We will discuss about the stratospheric ozone depletion. That is, ozone is mostly in the stratosphere. You know that we classify the Earth's atmosphere into troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, exosphere. In addition to that, there are two more classifications: there mesosphere and thermosphere. Anyway, we'll discuss all these things in detail. And especially for electronics people, ionosphere is very important. And of course, ionosphere is many places combined with mesosphere. That also we'll discuss. What is see some countries that use only troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. But in India, we used to always classify into four areas. Instead of mesosphere and thermosphere, we used to classify ionosphere and exosphere. For example, when I was a school student, we were studying the four divisions of atmosphere as troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, and exosphere. Okay, then not only the ozone depletion, then acidic deposition and its consequences in the atmosphere. Then indoor air pollution and outdoor air pollution have got different effects. I remember attending an international conference on indoor air pollution at Bangalore. I think that medical college at Bangalore, I forgot its name, a very famous medical college at Bangalore, St. George's Medical College, once hosted an international conference on indoor air pollution long back. I was a delegate for that one. I think around 200 delegates from different countries, from over 100 countries were present there. They were all debating and discussing on indoor air pollution. It is a much concern in many countries. In India, indoor air pollution is not much a concern because, most of us don't stay indoor much of the time. That is a problem. Many of you will be staying inside. Maybe in the lockdown period, you are staying more. Otherwise, you will stay inside the house only some half of the day only, maximum. Much of the day you will be outside or moving. So indoor air pollution is not much a concern. But the impact of indoor air pollution is more on housewives. That was the major discussion in that conference. What is the impact on indoor air pollution on women who are mostly housewives? Anyway, all these things we are going to discuss here in a simple term so that you can remember it. And this first part I have told you earlier, what is atmosphere like? Atmosphere is a thin layer of, it's very thin compared to the Earth's diameter. You must be knowing the Earth's diameter is nearly 12,400 kilometers, Earth's diameter, 12,600 plus kilometers. And you know that that compared to that, the atmosphere is only a thin layer. Especially the air with pressure is only 1 to 2 kilometers from the surface. If you go more than 2 kilometers, the air pressure will be so low. Those traveling in aeroplanes know that you are not breathing the natural air. Aeroplanes which travel from 10 kilometers above the earth. Small planes travel around 4 to 5 kilometers. Jumbo jets and all fly around 8 to 12 kilometers above the earth's surface. They do have system for oxygenation inside. Oxygen is provided extra there. Inside the aircraft, oxygen is extra circulated. Otherwise, the atmospheric oxygen will not be sufficient for us to breathe at that height. So oxygen storage is there in the plane, which is being supplied to the people inside. And you know that the atmosphere is having around 78 plus percentage of nitrogen, 20 to 21% of oxygen. And I told you once, oxygen content at Palakkad is around 20.9 percentage. And then minute concentrations of all gases are there. If you take the atmosphere anywhere, all the gases will be there, but their percentage is very small. And I told the third highest content in the atmosphere is water vapor, next to nitrogen and oxygen. Then comes carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is very small. Carbon dioxide is only, 0.03, 3 milligram per 330 milligram per liter. So it's only 0.03 percentage. 0.033 percentage is right now. And we are planning to control it not to exceed 0.04 percentage. If it exceeds 0.04 percentage, 0.04 percentage means 400 ppm or 400 milligram per liter. That's a very high value. I have shown you the chart earlier on this. So many of these human activities generate mostly three gases. carbon dioxide, methane, and ozone. You may ask why carbon monoxide is not there. Carbon monoxide is also there, but the reason is carbon monoxide comes out only if the combustion is incomplete. Most of the engines nowadays, we have got very good vehicle engines and all. Most of the engines now convert the fuel fully, so that the carbon monoxide is not much, carbon dioxide is more. But if the combustion is only half through, the burning is not taking place fully, we will have more of carbon monoxide. That's a dangerous situation because carbon monoxide is a poison. It can kill people, whereas carbon dioxide cannot kill you. I told you why carbon dioxide cannot kill you, because it causes only breathlessness. Breathlessness, if you cause, you will try to escape to some place where air is available. That breathlessness we call as actually asphyxia. Asphyxia is caused by deficiency of oxygen, hypoxia. So hypoxia causes asphyxia. Okay. See the composition of different gases. Read it. See the left side, that pie chart. Nitrogen 78.08%, oxygen 20.95%. This may be slightly 0.1% on this side or that side, is possible in different areas. Whereas in industrial areas, oxygen content may be a bit less, because many of the industries have burning phenomena or burning processes which take up oxygen abundantly. And in a place where our trees are more, the oxygen content may be slightly more in the night time. In the daytime, oxygen content may be slightly less, because trees absorb oxygen in the daytime for making carboxy foods and all, carboxy compounds, because they make carbohydrates, which are carboxy compounds. See the combination of different slides. So things like xenon, ozone. Ozone is supposed to be a trace gas only. Why? Because its its density in the atmosphere is not even point not 1%. It is even less than that. But in the rarefied atmosphere, where the atmosphere, the gas pressure is less, oxygen, ozone is very highly dispersed. That is why ozone has got. I'll show you how the ozone dispersion is there. If you see that dispersion curve, you will understand where the ozone is more and where ozone is less. And methane is very trace, but methane, see the table given on the lower side. They are all mostly greenhouse gases. Water vapor. Water vapor is a greenhouse gas. Vapor may exceed to very high levels. It can go even up to 4% in very hot countries. In India, water vapor can go up to approximately 3% in the atmosphere. Why? Country where in the tropical region where temperatures can go high. And the temperature, especially Palakkad, the humidity is very high. What do you mean by humidity? Humidity. What do you mean by humidity? Anybody? Let me see whether you are active. Afternoon, the strength has come down. Another place, don't forget to take the attendance today, because they may be skulking the afternoon sessions. Finalists have become expert in skulking also. Let us see what is humidity. I remember I have studied in a Malayalam medium school. So there we had to study everything in Malayalam. Every scientific term I studied in Malayalam in the school days. So I had to learn the equivalent terms in English when I came for pre-degree. Pre-degree I had studied in one of the most reputed colleges in Kerala. And many of my teachers were even Britishers. So I had to study a lot of English words to make up for my school level. School we studied humidity as klinnada. I don't know whether you have heard it. Klinnada. Velocity we studied as pravegam. It will be funny for you. Acceleration we studied as twaranam. So I could understand the difficulty of students studying in Malayalam medium and coming to English medium every term. I was in the first batch where these books were renewed, including the new Malayalam terms. And all these terms are not really Malayalam. For example, Klinnada, Toranam, Aram, these are all Sanskrit words basically. So what happened is, for 1 year, I had a chance to work in a college in Tamil Nadu as principal. So what I felt was that the students mostly were coming from Tamil medium, and they are not understanding the terms in English properly. So first year scoring used to be very poor. So I conducted a study and I arranged some good teachers from the college to take 2 weeks training before the classes start. Conversion to English from Tamil terms. So every Tamil word they will be giving the meaning to English, and the students will be asked to study English terms. And it worked. I found that results improved by 20% because examination is in English only. So that's the same thing. But now somebody has given the correct answer. Yes. Sonia has given Irpam. Vishnupriya has given water content in the air. GC has given amount of water vapor in the air. I think all these are correct. The percentage of water vapor in the air is called humidity. Humidity, I don't know whether you have uh, studied the experiments too. We had an engineering physics lab in the first year, long back. In that, we had some experiments called uh, uh, what was that experiment to conduct humidity? We had some uh, uh, cold thermometer and hot thermometer mixed arrangement was there. That was a humidity experiment. Some charts were there, humidity charts, from which we could interfere. We could infer the humidity in the atmosphere. That used to give us the relative humidity in the atmosphere. But the point is, whatever is the experiment, I forgot that experiment because I have done it in 78. Quite natural to forget. We have done that experiment. It was called the hot bulb and cold bulb experiment. Procedure I forgot. But anyway, there were two types of thermometers with hot bulb and cold bulb. And by moving it in the air, we used to study the relative humidity and all. Anyway, it's of no use to you. But what I'm saying is, the humidity indicates the presence of water vapor in the air. And I feel that, of course, I used to stay in Delhi many times for weeks and weeks with my daughter. The temperature in Delhi used to be very high compared to the temperature in Palakkad many times. But I'm seeing that in Palakkad, you will sweat a lot, whereas in Delhi, you will not sweat. The reason is Palakkad, when the sweat comes out in summer, the atmosphere is full of vapor, humidity is high, so it cannot absorb your sweat also. So your sweat will flow in your body. Okay, your sweat will not get evaporated. Actually, when the sweat is evaporating, we feel our body cooler. That is what is called the Joule-Thomson effect in physics. Joule-Thomson effect says that when evaporation takes place through minor small pores in the body or anywhere, it gives rise to what is called a cooling effect. That cooling effect will not be there at Palakkad in the hot season because the air vapor content is very high. It may go to 3 to 4% of humidity. In that case, we feel very hot and sweating. Whereas in Delhi, if you go, you may feel hot, but you will not be sweating much because the moment water vapor comes out from your body, that will evaporate and that will dry up because there the relative humidity is comparatively less. Okay, so in equatorial and tropical places, the humidity is very high, whereas in places like tropical areas or subtropical areas, like north of Delhi or north of say a place called some years I was staying in Mumbai. I found that Mumbai the sweat is not as much as here, but it is there. If you compare these three places, Palakkad, Mumbai, and Delhi, Palakkad the sweating will be the highest. Mumbai will be the second because Mumbai is in the sea coast. Though the humidity is comparatively only middle level, the evaporation there is very high. Mumbai, it's a peninsular region in the sea. So the water evaporation in the sea will be causing humidity. Okay. But still it is less than Palakkad. Okay. And why I'm saying this is when the humidity is high, you will feel sweating. Your body will sweat. But the humidity is very less. the sweating in the body will be less because the atmosphere can absorb your sweat. Remember, it's a paradoxical thing. It's a paradoxical thing in the sense, and of course, in a place like Trivandrum, even at a lower temperature, you will sweat a lot. You know that 2012 to 2015 to 2013, I was staying at Tirunelveli only. At that time, I found that even at 37, 36 degrees centigrade, you will sweat a lot. Whereas at Palakkad, the only at around 39, 40 degree, you will have that bad feeling because Tirunelveli is also a coastal area where the humidity is very high comparatively. So most of the places in Kerala, humidity is very high. It has got a disguised advantage also for us. Ernakulam area is highly industrialized because the humidity is high. The atmosphere is having a lot of water vapor, and that water vapor absorbs the acid fumes. That is why acid rain is not common in Kalamassery area. Otherwise, there would have been in such places in the West, for example, in Los Angeles in US, the acid rain is very common because there the humidity is comparatively less. Water content in the atmosphere is less. So this can happen. So these are all see the gases which produce this we discussed earlier. That is why I'm not mentioning the gases. Mostly oxides of carbon, nitrogen, and sulfur are causing the greenhouse effect, and they are all variable gases. Means they are not permanent in the atmosphere. Permanent gases are nitrogen, oxygen, and rare gases. Rare gases means gases like neon, helium, hydrogen, xenon, etc. They are all rare gases, not that much common in the atmosphere in free form. For example, hydrogen cannot stay free in the atmosphere. It will immediately combine with oxygen and become water vapor. Obviously, in the years to come, helium concentration will improve because the solar burning, the sun is burning by our sun is a hydrogen star. Hydrogen star means hydrogen combines to form helium. That is, it's a fusion. Whereas there are some stars which are fission stars where the helium or some other gas splits to give out hydrogen. So both types of stars are available. As I have told in one session, the universe is having millions and millions and millions of stars. They may be of different nature. Okay, so it depends on the star whether the hydrogen or helium concentration will increase or not. Now we see the different layers of atmosphere. I have told these names earlier. I gave you a rough idea about these things when in the introductory chapters we were talking about atmosphere. So the troposphere is only around 11 kilometers. 11 kilometers means I told that 1 kilometer is 1.6 miles. So around 7 miles maximum. And in the troposphere, only in the troposphere we can breathe. But in the troposphere also, when you go up and up, you will have breathing trouble. For example, if you just go up 1 or 2 kilometers, you will feel that breathing is difficult. That is why many of the people who climb the Everest die because of breathing problem. Everest is less than 9 kilometers only. But that 9 kilometers we cannot climb without oxygen. So the mountaineers who go to Everest, they carry along with them oxygen cylinders. You know that after 5, 6 kilometers without oxygen cylinder, going up will be almost impossible. So troposphere is up to 11 kilometers roughly, and stratosphere is up to 50 kilometers. That always above mean sea level. I told you once that the mean sea level in India is calculated with respect to the sea level in Karachi because when the great trigonometrical survey was conducted in 1900, Karachi was a part of India. And the place where I am sitting right now, my house, the ground is having a mean sea level of 100 point decimals meters. See, so that is how different places. Ahilya, I am yet to check. I haven't checked what is the mean sea level at Ahilya, but it is, I think, much more than this because Ahilya is still in a hilly area, right? And troposphere has got at the top of it almost a still area which doesn't have any air movement. That area is called tropopause. Pause means to stand still. PAUSE, stand still. So around 8 to 11 kilometers, there is no virtual air movement at all. Above that comes the stratosphere up to 50 kilometers. And stratosphere is very dry. You cannot at all breathe there at all. If you reach the stratosphere, breathing will be very difficult. And of course, stratosphere is where the ozone level is the highest. Ozone is maximum from 17 to 30 kilometers, but ozone is spread from 0 to 80 kilometers. I'll show that to you in a diagram. The maximum concentration of ozone is from 17 to 30 kilometers. So it is called the UV radiation blocking zone or the ozone zone. Okay. And that is a zone which breaks UV radiation from coming to Earth. Otherwise, Earth would have been difficult to live in. Earth would have been hell for the people because the UV radiations are blocked by these gases plus some other gases which we send out. Okay. Then this is the Western system. What is given at top? Mesosphere. Above the stratosphere, it is mesosphere. Normally, most of the satellites we send are not crossing the mesosphere. Only the interstellar or interplanetary satellites do cross the mesosphere. Now, most of the satellites which we launch to the space, they'll be running in between a distance of 30 to 50 kilometers. That you can keep in mind. 30 to 50 kilometers will be normally the height of a satellite. And above 80 kilometers, we have what is called thermosphere. Okay. Thermosphere is the topmost layer. We say that it can extend up to 500 kilometers, but it is almost vacuum. Thermosphere is almost vacuum. Very rarefied air content is there. We cannot breathe and all in thermosphere. But thermosphere has got a lot of electronic applications, especially mesosphere and thermosphere are used for the electronic applications, use of satellites, etc., etc. And of course, many waves are sent to the atmosphere. It reflects from the mesosphere or ionosphere. And of course, given at the lower side is the older versions which is used in countries like India. We say ionosphere from 80 to 600 kilometers. Ionosphere is spanning up to 600 kilometers. And exosphere, above ionosphere. I think, I don't know whether you have heard in the Hindu mythology, there are 14 worlds. There are 14 worlds in the Hindu mythology. My school days, I used to by heart it. Adala, Vidala, Nitala, Sudala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Phuloga, Purloga, Swarloga, Maharloga, Janaloga, Tavologa, Satyaloga. 14 worlds. Say that seventh one is the Phuloga where we are staying. So instead of dividing the atmosphere like that, I think they divided it into different worlds. Then all the things below the earth, first six are supposed to be the hell, and the next seven are supposed to be the heaven. That's only a belief system because most of the religions do have the belief system of hell and heaven. You know that the Semitic religions and Judaic religions like Jews, Christians, Muslims, they all believe that the body is to be buried in the earth and the soul, the Atma, will be along with the body. And when the survivor comes at the end, survivor in Christianity, that survivor is the Antichristu. And in Islam, there is some other name for that, some word beginning with the D. That is the survivor who is the last person coming on earth. It is a word. Both the concepts are same. Even in Jewism, they believe that on such a day, at the end of the earth, such a person will come, and he will emancipate everybody, and the righteous people will be taken to the heaven, and the wrong people will be taken to the hell. That is a belief system. Hinduism doesn't believe that. That is why they burn the body. They believe that immediately after your death, your soul will be living and leaving the earth itself. It will go elsewhere, maybe, and it will be reborn. And that is what the most of the scriptures do say. Uh, the the soul will leave the body and will come back as another life. That is a Hindu concept. But in the Judaic and Semitic concept, that Atma, that soul cannot be reborn immediately. Cannot be reborn at all, because that is why in English the blessing to a person who is dying, who has died, we say RIP. RIP means requiescat in peace, means stay in peace. Where stay in peace in the tomb. You know that in Christian tombs and all, we write the word RIP. RIP stands for RIP stands for requiescat in peace in I think it is in Hebrew. So means stay in peace. What does it mean? You are asking the soul along with the body to stay in peace inside that coffin, inside that cemetery, so that the emancipation at the end of the world, they will be emancipated. And if they are good people, they'll be taken to heaven. And if they are bad people, they'll be taken to hell. This is a Western concept anyway, not Indian concept. Why I'm saying is we used to designate different words like that, but the newer concept is to divide the atmosphere, because we don't know what is beyond the atmosphere, and beyond the atmosphere, only planets are there. And I don't know whether you are aware of these things. I have taken one session on universe, you and the universe. How is this universe? How we are moving, etc. I think I'll post that session to your WhatsApp. So if you are interested in learning about what is the Earth, what is the Sun, what is the cosmic behavior, etc., you can read that. It's a long session, some 2-hour session. It's better to know something about these things, because it's all concerning your life now. Now, coming to the next one, see this figure thoroughly. I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. See that diagram thoroughly. You have to answer my questions. If it is on your mobile, you expand it and see. Obviously, this is a Western concept of troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere instead of ionosphere and exosphere. Obviously, in a thermosphere, the gaseous particles are ionized. That is why it is called ionosphere. So the thermosphere is nothing but ionosphere. Okay. See that now I'll be asking you some questions. Be active. This is an after lunch hour where people will feel sleepy. I have also that sleepy nature in the afternoon, but we have to overcome it. Now see, uh, I'll ask some simple questions. At what height from the atmosphere the ozone concentration is the maximum? At what height from the atmosphere the ozone concentration is the maximum? Somebody tell me. If no one is telling me, I'll ask specific names. Either tell me or post in the group. At what height from the Earth's atmosphere the ozone concentration is the highest? Anybody please put it? At what height from the Earth's atmosphere the ozone concentration is maximum? I think you can see that graph now clearly. On laptop, you can see it very. See, I'm using the laptop to see that because I'm presenting to you. But mobile also you can expand and see it. Just see it. It is written there. This is the cross-sectional behavior of the atmosphere, different height. It gives up to 120 kilometers. 120 kilometers means it's a. Sahana has said 35. Sahana, it is wrong. You see the picture carefully. That ozone concentration is given in the blue color. That blue color indicates the ozone concentration. Vishnupriya says 30. Some problem with your eyesight, all of you? You just see? Or is it wrong with my eyesight? See clearly. Sonia says 15 to 30. It's a long range. Revati says 32. Come to a bit closer figure. Maharashmi says 35. I'm asking where it is the highest. Ajay Prahash has said it correctly. Ajay, you are right. Around 20 to 25 kilometers from the Earth atmosphere. Yes. See the peak of that blue curve. The peak of the blue curve is between 20 to 25 kilometers from the Earth's surface. There is the oxygen concentration, the highest. So I think Ajay's eye matches with my eye. It is almost the same. Okay. Then let me ask another question. At what height the atmospheric temperature is the lowest? At what height? At what height from the Earth's surface the atmospheric temperature is the lowest? At what height the atmospheric temperature is the lowest? For your clue, I can give the temperature is given by that red graph. That red graph indicates the temperature at different height. That red graph. Rifas has put it as 85. Rifas, you are right, perfectly right. At a height of around 85 kilometers from the Earth's surface, the temperature will be around minus 75 degrees centigrade. Can you imagine? Minus 75 means ice will form at 0 degree, then minus go down. Very cold. Let me ask another question. Anybody who has traveled in aeroplane in this group? No, to answer this question, even aeroplane travel is not necessary. My next question is, you are traveling by a flight at a height of 10 kilometers. How much will be the temperature outside your flight? You are traveling at a height of 10 kilometers. Approximately, how much will be the temperature outside your flight? External temperature. Inside, it is always air conditioned. Inside, they'll keep between 20 to 25 normally. Inside, it is air conditions, but outside, your normally the flights, say Delhi flight, Bombay flight, Abu Dhabi, Dubai flights, etc., they travel at a height of 10 to 11 kilometers normally at a height. So if assume you are traveling at a height of 10 kilometers, how much will be the temperature outside your flight? Yes, anybody? Anybody who wants to travel by flight also can know it. Why so delayed? Quick. You can see that graph, the red color curve shows the temperature, how it varies. So many have written Gogular, Ushmala, GC, everybody is right. Minus 60 degrees centigrade. Can you imagine that? Minus 60. If your flight breaks at that height, nobody will survive. They will freeze immediately. 0 degrees enough to freeze. By chance, at a height of 10 kilometer, a flight crashes, nobody will be alive because even before reaching the Earth's surface, they will be dead. While reaching the Earth's surface, they will collapse also. They will break into pieces because they will be just like ice pieces. Okay, so that is a danger. Many times, of course, luckily, many times the plane crashes occur while taking off or landing, so close to the Earth's surface. And in the high air, the plane is moving very steadily, so chance of an accident is very less. And at that height, nothing can come and hit the plane except meteors. No natural things will come and meet. For example, the birds and all will never fly. Which is the bird which flies the highest? ഏറ്റവും പൊക്കത്തിൽ പറക്കുന്ന bird ഏതാണ്? The bird which flies the highest. I think I once told that story of that bird. Which is the bird which flies the highest? Yes, Vishnupriya has written it's eagle or vulture. Okay. It flies maximum up to 1 kilometer or 1.5 kilometers only. Beyond that, even that won't go. Maximum may be up to 2 kilometers, because beyond that, air pressure will not be enough for the wings to support it. So flying will be difficult. So no bird is going to hit you at a height of 8 kilometers or 10 kilometers above the. And moreover, this much temperature, the birds also cannot withstand. Even if it flies around 5 kilometers, the temperature will be around minus 30 degree. They cannot. Even at 2 kilometers, the temperature may go around minus 10 degrees centigrade. That is it. So unbearable, unbearable. That is why the birds cannot go up. You also see that if your flat is half a kilometer up in the atmosphere, temperature will be naturally less. So the ecosystem there will be entirely different. An ecosystem at a temperature of 30 degree on the Earth's surface will be different at a temperature of 20 degree at a height of 500 meters. So as you go taller and taller in buildings, the ecosystem itself will be different. The pressure will be different. The organisms which are moving around will be different. All this will be different. Okay, so I think you understood. As you go up and up, the temperature will change, the density will change, the composition will be changed. All these change, the content will change. It can happen like this. So this picture gives a very clear explanation. That's this picture I have taken from internet only. I don't exactly remember from where it is. Okay. See the next slide. The properties of the atmosphere. I told you, the atmospheric pressure at the surface of the earth is 9.8 kilogram per centimeter square. If you go up and up, it goes up to 0. You see that diagram? The diagram gives the atmospheric pressure versus altitude or height up to which you go. If you go up in the altitude in kilometers, how the pressure varies. You know that the atmospheric pressure on the surface of the earth, I told it is 9.81 kilogram per centimeter square. It is called 1 bar or 1 atmosphere. I think this you would have studied in school. 1 bar or 1 atmosphere. That is a pressure at the surface of the earth, air pressure. 1 bar is nothing but 1000 millibar. 1 millibar is 1 by 1000 of a bar. So for more precision, we express the pressure in millibars. For example, in aeroplane and all, the what is a device used for measuring pressure? What is the instrument used for measuring pressure? Let me know whether you know the fundamentals. Somebody please give me which instrument is used for measuring the pressure, atmospheric pressure, or any pressure for that matter. Yes, Samina has given it rightly. Thank you, Samina. It is barometer. Okay. If the mechanism of measurement is slightly different, it is also called manometer. But basically, pressure measuring device is called barometer. So every aeroplane is having a barometer fitted to it. And that barometer, the pressure is marked in millibars, not in bars. Because if you, at the surface of the earth, it is 1 bar. If you go less and less, if you go up and up, the pressure will be decreasing slowly, slowly. So we divide the bar into 1000 millibars. Like 1 meter is 1000 millimeter. Okay, 1 meter is 1000 millimeter. 1 gram is 1000 milligram. I think you know this. 1 gram is 1000 milligram. Or any other unit where milli is used. And there is a creature called millipede. Millipede. Why that creature is called like that? Do you know what is millipede? Millipede എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? Somebody please tell me what is called millipede. 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 Anybody? Millipede എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താ? Pede represents pedestal or pedaling. കാലാണ് പീഡ് റെപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. മില്ലി മീൻസ് 1000. സോ മില്ലിപ്പീഡ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 1000 കാലുള്ള ജീവി എന്നാണ്. 1000 കാലുള്ള ജീവി വല്ലതും ഉണ്ടോ? There is no such creature. But one creature is having so many legs. So we call it as millipede. അത് ഏത് ജീവിയാണ്? Yes, somebody has written it. Samina has written it. Samina, പഴുതാര മില്ലിപ്പീഡ് അല്ല, പഴുതാരയ്ക്ക് പറയുന്നത് സെന്റിപ്പീഡ് എന്നാണ്. സെന്റി മീൻസ് 100. പഴുതാരയ്ക്ക് 100 കാലേ ഉള്ളൂ എന്നാണ് വിശ്വാസം. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് കോൾഡ് സെന്റിപ്പീഡ്. അപ്പൊ പിന്നെ മില്ലിപ്പീഡ് എന്താണ്? സമീന ഹാസ് റിട്ടൺ പഴുതാരയ്ക്ക് സെന്റിപ്പീഡ് എന്നാ പറയുന്നത്. അതിന് 100 കാലം. സെന്റി മീൻസ് 100, സെഞ്ചുറി മീൻസ് 100. സോ മില്ലിപ്പീഡിന് 1000 കാലം ഉണ്ടെന്നാണ് വിശ്വാസം. It's only a metaphor. It doesn't have 1000. But so very close legs are there for this creature. Anyone else? പഴുതാരയേക്കാൾ കൂടുതൽ കാലുള്ള ഏത് ജീവിയാണ്? Yes, GC has come up. Aditya has told Cheretta. GC has written Theretta. I think both are colloquial words which you use. Atta is the common word. Theretta നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. നിറച്ച് കാലുകളാണത്. ട്രെയിൻ പോലെ ഇങ്ങനെ കാലുകൾ കാണും. That is called millipede. Okay. Why I'm saying is millipede is, we call it millipede because we assume that it is having 1000 legs. It's only imagination. But see here, the pressure is divided into millibars. So at the surface of the earth, the pressure is 1 bar, means 1000 millibars. It goes up and up. When it reaches 50 kilometers above the atmosphere, 50 kilometers means stratosphere is almost getting over. At that height, what is the pressure of the air? 50 kilometers, 50 kilometers if you go up in the air, what is the pressure? Anybody? You can see from the diagram, 50 kilometers above the earth, what is the air pressure? 50 kilometers above. Ushmala said it correctly. Ushmala, you are right. It is absolutely zero. No air is there above 50 kilometers. It is vacuum. So remember, the atmosphere above earth is only vacuum. And remember, the vacuum is not shining. The vacuum is dark. I think I have once told you that 72% of the energy on this universe is dark energy. I think I'll post you one YouTube recording which says about universe and how it looks like. So you can read from there. This I have engaged some months back. Anyway, but remember, even at a height of 5.5 kilometers from the Earth's surface, the air molecules will be only 50%. Air will have only 50% molecules in it. That means oxygen content instead of 20 point, that percentage will reduce to half of it. Okay, so breathing will be difficulty. That is why I told, without an equipment, breathing above 1 kilometer will be very difficult. Okay, so that is a condition there. And you see the height of 10 kilometers. The height of around 10 kilometers, only 10% air pressure will be there. Very difficult. You see the height of 10 kilometers. Air pressure is only 1/10. Breathing is never possible. That is where the temperature goes up to -60, where our aeroplanes run. Okay. So inside the aeroplane, you have got pressure control and temperature control. It is all mechanized. It's not the usual air conditioner. The air conditioner used in plane is such that it can keep the air pressure and the temperature. Because so many people, in a jumbo jet, hundreds of people will be there. There are planes which can accommodate up to 300, 400 people. Big jumbo jets. So that much of oxygen and that much of pressure has to be kept there. It's all mechanized. That's why it consumes a lot of fuel. Okay. So about pressure we have discussed, and then the point is relative humidity. The ratio of the water vapor in the air to the amount it can contain at a given temperature is called the relative humidity. So what do you mean by relative humidity? Say for example, you are taking a place you are taking. At that place, let us say that the maximum humidity possible is 4%. Very high it is. Maximum humidity possible is 4%. And right now, the humidity at that place is 2%. So the relative humidity is nothing but 2% divided by 4%. That is 50%. 2 by 4%, 50%. So if the relative humidity is 50%, it means that place is having a water content in the atmosphere, only half of that which the place can accommodate. I think in a place like Palakkad, the highest humidity which can be accommodated may be around 3 point some percentage or so. So if you have got 1% of water content in the atmosphere, in the air, we can say it is almost 33% humidity, relative humidity. Relative humidity and humidity are very different. Relative humidity is with respect to the maximum possible. So relative humidity is expressed in percentages, whereas actual humidity is expressed with respect to the total air. Okay, that is also percentage, but with respect to the total air content. Relative humidity is with respect to the maximum possible. So relative humidity will be very high, 50, 60, 70 like that. But the real humidity may be 1 or 2 or 3 and at the most 4. Okay. Now we will see this slide and stop with that. First thing is, what is the difference between climate and microclimate? These are terms which you will come across. Say, for example, in the TV, you will see climate predictions by meteorological department. That is a climate, it's a general indication of, say, for example, the climate today for Kerala is monsoon. I am right now seeing the rain falling. So monsoon is there. But many places in Kerala right now, rain may not be there. You just see your house outside. Sometimes it may be raining, sometimes it may not be raining. So the generalized term is the climate. Microclimate means at a particular place, say when flood was going on in the southern states, there was no flood in Palakkad. So later, Palakkad got another flood. But what I'm saying is the microclimate is a localized climate, whereas the general climate we call as the weather. Weather. General climate is the weather, whereas കാലാവസ്ഥ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു general term ആണ്. But microclimate means related to a particular area only. Okay. So from the North Pole to the South Pole, how these things do vary, a diagram is given. It is not of much importance, but it's, since I just gave it, you can just see it. North Pole is always given on top. That's a map convention. In any map, North has to be given on top and South has to be given at bottom. So when you are seeing India's map, whatever you see on top is the north. North is Kashmir. And whatever you see on the bottom is the south. That is Kanyakumari. Okay. So I think the discussion on this topic for the day is only half through, not even half through. We'll have 1 or 2 sessions more on atmospheric pollution, and then we will pass on to the last thing after these sessions are over. Okay. So thank you very much. We close the session today. I think you don't have any doubts or queries. If you have, you can ask. Otherwise, you can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.